Greetings. So before I start, I got to use this, right? Okay. Get this for the recording? Okay. How do I take it off? Okay. Okay. Can you hear me okay? So before I start, I got some Java shirts to hand out. Um, everybody. I only, I only, so, so I don't have enough for everybody, so you're gonna have to fight over it, okay? Here's a large. No fair. I'll have to go to a bigger. Here's another large. This is Oracle Java, okay? And on the back, there's an actual URL for dev.java, which I'll go over here a little bit. Okay, you have to fight for it. It's not very good for me. Okay. Medium. Okay. Another medium. Whoop. Okay. Okay. Large. Sorry. All right. These are very valuable, by the way. Medium. Okay. Medium. I have to get him because he has to handle my session. Okay, so my name is Jim Grisanzio, and I work on the Java Developer Relations team at Oracle. And I'm going to be talking about building career. And this is non-technical. I'm going to show you lots of pictures and tell some stories. And because I profile developers, I am the host of the Duke's Corner, podcast. So I talk to developers, and I've done hundreds of interviews, which I'll talk about. And basically, we're just going to talk about my experience, and hopefully you'll learn from that. And yeah, that's it. I'm going to explain some of the pictures. I can't explain all of them because there's too many, and I don't really have that much time. But this is a really cool image here. I shot all these pictures, by the way. This is Bill Joy. This is obviously James Gosling and Eric Schmidt and Andy Beckelsheim from Sun Microsystems. The reason this is important is these guys built massive communities, okay, and they did it in a specific way, and it's one of the things I've learned about building career, okay. We build career by contributing to communities, okay. That's the whole point of this presentation. So I'm going to fly through here. This is me. This is my IDE. Okay? Strictly hardware. Okay? Strictly hardware. I'm 22, 23 years old in this picture. 1987, you can do the math. Okay? That's my machine. So I'm a builder. I'm a developer, just like you. Point of this picture is when I was a kid, like a lot of you, I was a hacker. I was a builder, all right? And all the people I met back then who built houses and buildings and things like that, they're just like you. It's just now it's software. That's all. The mindset is the same, okay? So this is just who I am. Oh, and by the way, underneath here, all these links that are underlined, they're links. Okay, so if you ping me later for the slides, there's about 50 links in this presentation, okay, and you can follow up on them. Some of them I will explain, but I don't have time to explain all of them, but they basically give much more information specifically related to the slide, okay? So let's leave ancient history here and come to Java. You're all very lucky. This is a huge opportunity. This is a Java conference. And if you look at these numbers here, this just basically talks about the size of the community. 10 plus million developers, that's a lot of people, right? Lots of Java champions, user groups, hundreds of Java champions and user groups. Um, and to me, this represents a huge opportunity for all of us, okay, to be a part of this community if we know how to leverage that opportunity. That's a big if, okay? That's what I'm going to be talking about here. The background image is in Japan. I live in Japan, and I participated in the Japan Java user group. And this is their after party, basically, of one of their conferences. So how do we leverage the opportunity of Java? Lots of code out there. There's a huge community out there. We leverage it by contributing, okay? One of the things I noticed with all the developers I profile is they master skills. They contribute to communities, and they build massive networks. Those three things, they all have them in common, and they're building career that way, okay? Now also, they're doing these things, they're creating value. That's the whole point here. Your contribution creates value, all right? And it creates value for three levels. You, specifically, because it's your career. The community will benefit as well, and your employer will benefit. All three levels benefit to your contribution. So when you build your career, you're helping everybody, okay? That's the point. Okay, this is, I base my opinions on basically two things, the interviews I've done and the communities I've participated in. This is my friend Butter from Morocco, and this is my podcast, your Duke's Corner. So if you search on any of the podcast platforms, you'll find it. And I've done hundreds of interviews, okay? And these are the things I've learned that I'm going to be sharing with you. And some quotes here. Java is my superpower. Java is my superpower. So that's an engineer, Shiri Shripratha from Pittsburgh. She learned Java, and she realized that she can use Java to create great things for her career, all right? Developers are superheroes. Mala Gupta in India, another Java champion, friend of mine. Everything changed is another quote from an interview. This is from Jonathan in Spain, and he said that when he realized that there was a community outside his company's firewall. He didn't know about that. The community is where is the real value. That's where you actually leverage all of your skills. Right? Java is a marvel of engineering from Bert Young Scriver in Europe. Talks about the quality, high quality of the engineering. We're very lucky to be in this community because of this engineering. Okay, so this is just some quotes from conversations with the community that I have. And I'll have more later. The other thing I base my opinions on are all the communities that I've worked with over the years. Construction, publishing, biohacking has a lot of communities as well. Java, obviously, this is the big one. Java, NetBeans, it's just Java. Linux, I've contributed and I've worked with a dozen communities in multiple countries. And all these people say roughly the same thing, okay, about career and career development. It's the contribution that matters. All right, and this is at Java 1. Is it Java 1 or is, yeah, Oracle Code 1 in 2018. You'll notice the pictures range wildly in time scales. There's 20 years of photographs here. That's how old I am. Networks, when I talk about network versus community, it's very simple. Your network is your network. That's your personal network. The community is the massive, large thing around the outside, all right? And that's the conversation I had with these very students, the distinction between networks and communities. Talked about with these kids in 2009, before most of you were born, probably. But these are the questions that they were asking. How do we build a network? How do we contribute to a community? It's in Indonesia. I oftentimes wonder where they are right now, you know. Very, very excited. This is for Open Solaris, one I used to work at Sun Microsystems. Okay, contributions. When you're building a career in this business, software engineering, the most important thing to realize is that your contribution is the most important thing you have, okay? It's your signal. You send it into the community that cuts through all the noise. Communities are big, loud, messy, unorganized. It's just human nature, right? But the contribution is what basically gets the attention of others, and I'll talk more about that later as well. It's my friend Sai Panamudu from India, and the huge, massive, Oracle user group in India that he runs with a lot of, staff as well, all contributors, and he talks about contributions all the time. And I should say the first contribution is you. Just showing up, you being here is in and of itself a contribution, okay? Because if you look at the organizers here, like these guys, without you, there's no me, and without you, there's no him, right? There's no conference. So even if you have to pay to get into an event, it's still a contribution for you to come because you're having conversations with people and you're interacting, you're learning from them, you're teaching them as well, okay? That's a contribution, and I strongly encourage you to think of your presence here as a contribution. And these are the guys in the pink shirts here. These are the organizers. This is in Japan, and in fact, Aki over there is in the corner. There's a speaker here at this conference, and he's all over the place. I met him in Oslo just a few weeks ago, and in Tokyo and Oslo, and now here. They need you to show up. And actually, the guy in the middle here, George, is my VP, senior VP at Oracle. Okay, you are very important. So if you're going to contribute to a community, any community, a FOSS community, free and open source software, right? Which Java is obviously a part of, is the way to go, because there are many contribution models, there are many different engineering models, things like this. There are open source program offices at companies. There's unconferences, user groups. There are regular conferences like this. There are many, many different places for you to contribute, and every contribution builds your career. Okay. In this picture here, there's multiple, these are all famous, but again, it's a long time ago, it's 2004, okay? But we got Java represented here, Linux, obviously, here with Eric Raymond, Apache here, and Tim O'Reilly in the middle. I know all these guys, and there's like 4 or 5 different communities in this one picture, okay? They all built massive communities, obviously Apache and Linux, and also Java with Bruno. This is Bruno Souza, this guy right here from Brazil. You'll see him later. Very famous. Okay, Java. This is at Java 1 in Las Vegas. Actually, most of my team is in here. All the links on the bottom, all point to places you can learn and contribute to Java. Okay, most of these links actually my team actually produced. But notice it's not just learning; it's learning and contributing. Each one of these links will point to references where you can learn Java, but also contribute. That's the key. Very few people talk about this, and there's a reason. Very few people contribute. And that's the secret to building your career. Okay, I can't go over all the links here, but there's many. There's like 14 links on this one slide. Okay, so send me a ping on Twitter, and I'll send you the slides. And yeah, there's everybody here in this. These are all contributors. These people contribute. I can point them out, okay? But I don't have time to go all of them. But that's why they're there, okay? Meritocracy is very, very important if you're going to contribute to a community like Java here in Taiwan or really anywhere. Just try and make sure that it's based on a meritocracy, which basically allows you to earn your own way. We're all individuals, but we're all part of a group. We have to mix with at both levels, okay? So You have to be able to like form trust relationships, and the organizers have to build a community with those things in mind. There's about 15 different communities represented in this picture. This is in Hawaii, and it's in February, which is really cool to be. It's an unconference we ran, but there's like 15 communities in this picture because we designed it that way, okay? Specifically to be international and all based on meritocracy. This is an unconference where you come and you run the conference yourself. It's no structure to it. Mentorship. This is probably one of the 2 or 3 most important things in any kind of a career session, is to realize you can't do this alone. Your career is based on a network, and how you get access to a network is you need a mentor. Okay, this is a good friend of mine, Denise Cooper, and she knows everybody in the world in open source and Java and Linux and MySQL and every single community you can think of. Okay, she knows everybody. And she was a good friend of mine, and I just, mentors give you access to things that you wouldn't ordinarily have access to, like other people, right? Other people who are more senior, other people who are famous, or who are doing interesting things that nobody else knows about that. These people know everybody. So instead of just working really hard year after year after year after year, think to yourself, who can you meet that knows other people? Build your network through these, essentially these are like super hubs. They know everybody, okay? And that's Denise, and there are many of them, and they're not necessarily well known too. So, but the point is, you can't do it alone. And to get that in your mind, you build your career through other people and your contributions. Leadership is critical in all open source communities. What's cool about leadership here is it's not hierarchical. It's not a president, a vice president, a blah, 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 right? You lead, you're a leader. You act, you're a leader. That's just that simple. If you take action in a community, an open community, a community that is designed around open source principles like Java, your simple action means you're a leader. Now, it's might be a small leader in your area of expertise, let's say. Doesn't matter, you're still a leader, okay? And this is a community leadership summit in Portland. There's like 4 or 5 Java engineers here that I know. Most of these people are Linux and various other open source communities. The point is they're leaders, not because they're famous, not because they work at Sun or Oracle or IBM or Red Hat. None of that matters. They're leaders because they take action and they contribute to communities. They don't just hang out, they contribute, okay? Now, contribution does take some assertion, okay? By definition, you have to do something within a group of people. These are 2 of my friends from years ago on Open Solaris when I was at Sun. They're engineers from China, and I was very proud of them one time when they stood up, just like in a room like this, but there were hundreds of kernel developers. And if you know anything about kernel developers for an operating system, they're a tough lot. These were 2 young kids at the time, and they stood up. They had an issue to handle, with the, on the project. And they stood up, held hands just like that, and they described their issue in front of 300 kernel developers. That's the size of this entire conference, okay? It's a big deal. These are Chinese engineers, not Western. Maybe a little bit more shy. No, they stood right up there. They asserted themselves. This is the only way you know your value in real time, is to stand up. Now, it's hard for me, it's hard for many of you, but you just start slowly and you do a little bit here, a little bit there, and you can do it. Just realize that contributing, building career, this does take some assertion. I did a lot of work with these 2 in China. I've been to China 30 times, and a lot of it was with them to do community building when I was at Sun Microsystems a long time ago. So if you don't necessarily feel too assertive, right, as an individual, that's okay. Um, Take some initiative. It's really important. This is in Japan. It was like a weekend hands-on lab seminar, and it was very impressive about these types of things. This is the Graal VM and the Scala community. It's Scala, right? Yeah, Scala in Tokyo. This is a weekend. This is like a Sunday, right? And they got together for a hands-on lab. This is normal. This is not, I should say, this is not normal in the West, okay? It's probably normal in Japan. It's probably normal here. Community comes together, do a hands-on lab, but the point is they're teaching each other, right? So you go to sessions like this. It's not a conference like this where it's sort of one way. This is where a hands-on lab, you're doing things together, right? They call them study sessions in Japan a lot. And it's really cool. Who benefits from this? The individual. You're learning something. The community will benefit, obviously, because other people are learning from your experience. The companies are benefiting because it's free training. All these engineers are teaching themselves, right? And it's great fun as well. After this, we had some sake and sushi, and it's fun, right? But the point is, we're at a high rise in Tokyo here, like 80 floors above the street on a Sunday. This is normal in open source communities. Okay, so take the initiative and join these things, just like you're here now. This is a big thing for career development. Okay, the next two slides, I'm going to be talking about two principles from this book here called The Formula, The Universal Laws of Success. I strongly advise you get this book and read it, okay? It's all about success, career building and success, and the network effect from large networks of human beings. The image is obviously James Gosling, the father of Java, and he's in Tokyo here in 2008, and he built a large community when he was very young, and now he's a lot older. The community is very, very big. This, to me, shows very well one of the principles in that book. And he articulates the distinction between performance and success. Performance is about you. It's about how much work you can do, how much code you know, what different languages you know, whatever, right? But it's about you. It's about your skills. Success, however, is very different. Success is about the community's reaction to what you do. That's the difference. Many times we work. We have to build working on a career. We're sending resumes. We're learning languages. Oh, I got to learn Java. I got to learn Scala. It's just work, right? But we can work ourselves right into the grave, which I did. I mean, I sat on that machine earlier, almost killed me. I mean, that was hard work, right? But when you contribute to a community and the community scales, then the community, you can basically ride that community as it grows. And James is a good example of this, right? He's very famous now, obviously, because Java succeeded, right? It grew very, very big. And he's very, very humble about it. He's a sweetheart of a guy. He's very gentle and humble about this. He's not arrogant at all. But the point is, understand the difference. The hard work is one thing, but that's not going to get you where you want to go if you really want to build a really interesting career that scales. Now, if all you want is sort of a normal career, fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you want to scale with the community, as the community scales, understand that those are two different principles. And that book there, The Formula, The Universal Laws of Success, articulates this in great detail. And the author is a computer scientist. He's not just a self-help guy. He does serious research. Yeah, and the next principle is productivity. And this is especially important for for young people to realize as they grow. Oftentimes we hear about, young people are the most successful, right? Or the most innovative. The young scientists do the most interesting work. Silicon Valley always has young people who succeed. None of that is true. None of that is true. It turns out that when you look at large data sets, the Silicon Valley success story is age 50, okay? Not in their 20s, okay, age 50. And scientists, that may be an exception for Einstein and those people, the super elite. But for most scientists, it's not true that your work, all of your most innovative work, was when you're young. The reason they found this out recently is, again, this is articulated in the book here, The Universal Laws of Success. Albert Lazio has massive data sets. He has data from all scientists for the last 100 years. That's a big data set. So when you could look at a data set that large, you see an interesting signal, okay? And the signal is very clear. Productivity matters, not innovation. In other words, older people are just as innovative as younger people. However, they are not as productive. And there are reasons why. You get older, your body hurts, you get sick, family, friends, you can't, you got to sleep longer. You can't produce as much, okay? It matters a lot, trust me. But if you can produce, or if you can mitigate and you can produce, as much as you can, actually it's important to realize that you're just as innovative as when you're older as when you're younger. So, okay? And so productivity, this is the Japanese Java user group. They are highly productive group in Tokyo, lots of contributors. This is Yamamoto-san getting a Duke's Choice Award here, which is highly prestigious in the Java community for contributing. Okay, he just wasn't honored because he knew lots of Java. There are lots of people who know lots of Java. He did something special, okay, and he was honored with the Duke's Choice Award, all right? Massive contribution. Okay, so those are the two principles from that book. I really recommend getting the book and checking it out. Always think in terms of possibilities with a career building strategy. This is my friend Joey Ito in Tokyo, and I learned a lot from him about thinking about what's possible, not just what's right in front of your face, but what could you do if you had X, Y, and Z, all right? He's a hacker, a networker, a photographer. He used to run MIT Media Lab. He's a big deal, okay? And he's a professor. He's a university president now in Tokyo. And, when the earthquake hit, I don't know if you remember in 2011 when the earthquake hit Japan, it was a pretty big thing. I mean, I was in Tokyo at the time. And as a result, the Fukushima nuclear plant blew up and, yeah, lots of radiation all over the place. Joey, with a bunch of hackers in Tokyo, created Safecast. Actually, this link right here, Safecast. It's a community. It's a community of scientists and hackers and software engineers and hardware engineers, and they created radiation monitors. Okay, so people could monitor radiation from the Fukushima nuclear explosion. That's a pretty good contribution to the whole world, right? They're still doing it now, right? And it's a big deal. Think about the skills that you have now, what you can do here in Taiwan that's not necessarily related to your company or the next application or whatever. Is this something that you can do to help society? Okay, think in terms of what's possible. That's a huge career opportunity for you and a gigantic contribution. Platforms are very important to realize in any kind of a discussion on career. This is Linus Torvalds. He's in Japan here. He's signing shirts. It's a few years ago. He has a pretty big platform, Linux, right? I had a conversation with him after this event, and I told him about my experience at Sun Microsystems and Open Solaris, and how, my company went away and Open Solaris was canceled, and I lost my platform. I was the Open Solaris community manager, and it's gone like that overnight, gone. And my career took a big hit. And I was telling him this story, and he said, "Oh, I'm sorry, because Linux won, right? Open Solaris did not win, right?" And so it was a good conversation. We had a big laugh, had a little laugh over it, and I told him that I learned a lot from the Linux community and things like that. So the important thing to realize from this is your platform matters. You have a big platform here. Java is equally the size of Linux. Millions of tens of millions of developers all over the place, lots of Java user groups. And so your platform matters, all right? And so you're very lucky to be involved with Java. Like Linux, it's a very stable place to be, but it's still growing, and there's still a lot of innovation taking place. And oh, by the way, speaking of nuclear radiation and things exploding and everything being obliterated, this link right here, the magnitude 9.1 meltdown at Fukushima, that's a video. It's a really interesting video about how the engineers at the plant in Fukushima managed that situation. It's from an engineering point of view. It's really, really interesting to see how they managed the political situation and the engineering situation. The reason it's important is your life can change like that. Your career can change like that. Your company can go out of business, you can get laid off, all these things. Or, a nuclear plant can get blown up in your neighborhood, right? And that can change everything. But it's really interesting to see how the engineers handled that. Because the engineers and the managers and the political establishment all think about these things very differently. So, yeah, life changes, right? So that's a really interesting video. So, when things do blow up, we have to mitigate. We have to try something else. We have to get a new job. We have to get a new project. We have to get a new platform. Something has to change, right? This is my friend Matthew Dons in Tokyo. He's from the UK, but he lives in Tokyo. And I've learned a lot from him about learning. And this is very important because we all have to learn. You're all software engineers. You're always learning a new language, a new something, right? But did you ever think about how you learn? Not the actual subject matter, whether it's Linux or Java or MySQL, not that, but the process of learning. This is really interesting. Some of these techniques have been known for 100 years, but they're not taught in school, right? Or at least I didn't learn in New York. So a couple of these links here at the bottom. Make It Stick is a book. Make It Stick, The Science of Successful Learning is a fantastic book. It has a lot of really interesting, innovative ways to learn. So how much time do I have? 10 minutes. Okay, I'm halfway done. I have 10 minutes. Yeah, all the links on the bottom here, the science of learning, optimal protocols for learning, straight A student, Anki. Anki is a space repetition app. Anki means memory. Really innovative ways to learn. Active recall is my favorite and probably the hardest to do. So yeah, let's fly. Think very deeply about things. This is a friend of mine from Japan hacking at the Tokyo hackerspace. I'm shooting her with a 50mm lens, so my camera's right here. She never once looked at me. She was concentrating. She was thinking very, very deeply about whatever she's hacking here. Okay, think very seriously about doing deep work. That's where the value is. Shallow work on the surface, emails, these kinds of things, fine. But deep work is, where you're really concentrating. That's critical because that's where you create real value and innovation. That's how you build your career, is doing deep things that get, you promoted at a job or you get a new job. Shallow work, not so much. And golly gosh, there's a book on this called Deep Work by Cal Newport. and it's a fantastic book. I recommend it. These things are hard. This is my friend Ayana from Japan. She's up on stage here at Java 1. I'm right here. I'm shooting her. Behind me is thousands of people. That had to have been hard for her to do, right? Some kind of demonstration of karate or something that they're doing at the conference. But she bowled through it, okay? And I guess my point here is to embrace hard things. Those are the valuable things. Easy things, not so much, okay? Embrace hard things. And there's lots of science here. Your brain literally grows. Certain parts of your brain grow when you do hard things, okay? So don't just relax. Relax is good, but if you just kind of hang out, things atrophy. They die, okay? So embrace hard things. Don't be afraid to go bold. This is my friend Chris here. He built that machine. That's 1,000 Raspberry Pi. He did it just because he wanted to. That's a bold statement, right? Now, he didn't do it alone. He had to bring a team of engineers together. So when you're thinking about your career, thinking about projects that you can do, is it a little project or is it a big project like that? That thing runs all of Oracle's software. And just to demonstrate that it could be done. And that's my streaming stage in the background where I've done a lot of my interviews. So really what I'm talking about here is mastery. Mastering something, not just learning something or casually doing something. Mastering something. This is a woman I worked for. It's in Solaris for many years, Bonnie Corwin. And you can't master anything without mastering the details. Okay? Details, details, details. She always hit us on this. She's an engineer. She actually worked with James Gosling before Java. That's how far back some of this stuff goes. I mentioned earlier about productivity versus innovation and younger people being, older people basically not as innovative or because they're not as productive because, it's harder when you're older. So the point here is to take care of your health. Start when you're younger because it gets harder when you get older, okay? These two kids are 20 years old. This is in Vietnam a few months ago. And they're students. And I just think they look young. Okay, so the point is you take care of your health. It's very, very important. Because if you don't have your health, you don't have a career. It's just that simple. Okay, I'm going to fly through some quotes here from the community. And this is Sharith Jander, a guy I work for at Oracle. Community is the most important pillar to the entire Java story. Shar has been involved in Java for for most of its lifetime, okay? I knew Shar from years ago at Sun. The most important pillar. The community is the most important, not the code, the community. So that's an opportunity for you who are building a career because you build your career by leveraging that community. This is Venkat Subramaniam. He's a very famous teacher, professor, PhD, lives in Colorado, and he's very, very well known if you don't know him. Writing code and seeing it evolve is therapeutic. It's like now you can relax. It's therapy writing Java code. Okay, the point is highest quality possible. 5 minutes, I'm going to make it. Okay, this guy in here in the middle. This is an old picture from 2004. Ideas are expressed in code. He's a kernel engineer, Solaris kernel engineer. The implementation is the idea. The point here is don't talk too much. Do something. You're engineers, you write code. Right? The implementation is the idea. This is my friend Alan Burleson. He's a Java engineer and a Solaris kernel developer as well. Having your voice listened to is a privilege that's earned. This is the whole point of meritocracy. You earn your voice, okay? In proportion to the contribution level. I hope you're seeing the pattern here. This is where I'm getting this content from, is talking to these people, right? Not the volume level. He's talking about don't shout too much, don't yell, because communities can be noisy, they can be messy, right? But when you contribute something, then people get quiet. Oh, that's real. Someone did something real. That's what he's talking about. You earn your way. This is Simon Phipps, another friend of mine. Code is king. The people who write it get to make the decisions. Very simple. It's not status. It's not because you work at Oracle. It's not because you work at IBM or Red Hat. It's because you write great code. And that's your contribution. That's what actually builds your career. And your status will come along as well. But the point is, you write code. Now, it doesn't have to be source code. It could be a document. It can be a podcast. It can be anything that you produce that's real. Okay? The guy in the middle here, Stephen Hahn, a PhD physicist. I worked with him on Open Solaris at Sun. You are always interviewing. This is a session on Career Talk. I haven't really said much about interviews and resumes because I don't care about that. In an open community, you're always interviewing because your work is visible. Open communities, everybody can see what everybody is doing. That's your interview. Okay? You're always interviewing. He said that to me when we were having a conversation about people in the community who were not contributing versus people who were contributing. The people who were contributing, I know them. I know what they can do. That's the interview. When you go to the HR interview later, that's simple. That's easy. The real interview is the interactions with the community. This is my MySQL friend. It's called LaFred. He's got his favorite mascot there, the dolphin. Everything I've done has been FOSS and FOSS only. He contributes to like 5 different communities. Okay, he understands the contribution, the importance of the contribution. Just imagine if you can go into an interview and say, I contribute to 5 different communities or whatever, right? It's FOSS and FOSS only. He's very, very passionate. This is my friend Stephen Chin. You learn by doing. You are what you do. Again, action. And a quick story here. That's me up on stage there, very uncomfortably in front of 600 people in China. Stephen sent me there. This guy here, Stephen. I used to work for Stephen. He sent me there. And he sent me there to essentially manage the keynote session at this conference. I don't have those skills to do that, right? But Stephen said, Jim, I think you need to do that. And there I was. It was just that simple. You are what you do. Now I muddled my way through it. It also streamed to 600,000 people in China. And the point is action, okay? You simply go do things. And sometimes brute force works, right? Sometimes you embarrass yourself. Fortunately here, I didn't do too bad. But there I am in front of 800 people. And I never would have been able to do that on my own without a community. That feeling of mastery is a quote here from my friend Dervish in Norway. Just imagine sitting in an interview somewhere at some company and talking about your passion to master Java. Not just know Java. Oh yeah, I know a little bit here. I can do this. No, you want to master Java. That's a different attitude, okay? That's what he talks about. And he's one of the leaders of the community in Norway. It's a massive, massive community that he built. Okay, and finally, the only thing here is my friend Abdel. I just love the picture, so that's it. Freedom. I'm an American. Freedom is very, very important to me. It's the single most important thing. Well, your career, whatever it means to you, you can decide. To me, it's freedom, okay? This is a Java conference. This is in Hawaii. Yeah, it is. I was there. I took the picture. That's a Java conference. That's a Java conference, okay? This is an unconference. Unconference style usually have sessions in the morning. In the afternoon, you have walks in the park, or if you're in Hawaii, you go surfing. My question to you is, how do you get here? This is a Java conference. Those are all Java engineers. How do you get here? Because there's no call for papers or anything like that. This is an informal unconference in Hawaii in January. The only way to get here, now I've worked in 6 industries. This is normal. This is normal for other industries as well. Okay, it's not just software. The only way to get here, you have to know those people. That's it. How do you get to know those people? You have to contribute to a community. That's it. How do you contribute to a community? You got to learn something. You got to work really hard, study, whatever you got to do. You build something great and bold and big. Contribute. You get to know them. And they say, hey, Jim, we're having an unconference in Hawaii. Why don't you come present what you've done? That's how you get here. That's the only way you get here, is by contributing. Okay? Now, somebody who knows a lot about this is my friend Bruno. He knows everybody in the Java community. This is in San Francisco at Java 1 in 2017. All the links here on the bottom are interviews I did with him. He wrote a book about career. And he goes all over all this stuff in, similar vein as me. You start building now. You got to master something. You got to contribute to a network. You have to build your network. You benefit yourself, the community, your employers, all these things I've said. Bruno talks about it as well in his own way. It's a big, thick book, okay? It's called Developer Career Master Plan. All the links are here. There's a video here. This is the book link and some interviews I did with him for Duke's Corner. He talks about career all the time. The things that I'm saying are not foreign, but I do notice that people don't usually talk about contributing as the key factor. The single most important thing is that contribution. Many people don't talk about that, and that's the secret. That's the secret to this. Anyway, Bruno's a great guy, and that's it. This is actually from here, a few months ago, well, last month. You might know some of these people. I'm the young one in the middle. And see the difference? So I was at Cost Cup, great conference, thousands of people, and I had a lot of fun. And that's it. Cheers.